Good old DAPs or digital audio players. Some people love them, like myself. Some people just don't understand why they exist, and others just don't really know what they're all about. But in this video, I'm reviewing the HiBy R6 Mark III 2025 version. Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. Check out the HiBy R6 III 2025. So let's talk about a couple of things. First of all, the price is $439 US. That is actually quite affordable for a mid-tier DAP. For example, the HiBy DX180 that I reviewed recently is $529, so it's about $90 more than this one here. Now, the R6 III, I'm just going to call it the R6 III, but keep in mind that it is the 2025 version. So the R6 III has got a quad DAC array. It's got 4 Cirrus Logic CS43198 DAC chips inside. Okay, I'm going to start off with some of the features, some of the specs. I'm not going to get too nerdy into the specs. I'll try and keep it somewhat brief. So we've got that quad DAC chip array, and on top of that, this device has 2 amplification modes. It has Class A and Class AB. What that means, in Class A mode, that's basically your full power mode. So it's always on the ready. It's similar to a Class A amplifier. It means that there's no transistor switching on and off. It is always on. The audio circuit is always open. So technically, that's going to give you the best audio response, the best audio quality. However, that does chew up more of the battery. In Class AB mode, you're getting a very similar performance, only it is more efficient because it just toggles between the on and off states in the audio circuit. That is probably a terrible description, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now. So inside, we've got dual Texas Instruments op amps. We've got 2 OPA 1652 op amps and 4 Elna audio grade capacitors. So we've got some good Japanese grade capacitors in there. Now, powering the device, the system on chip, is a Snapdragon 665. Now, I know that's not the latest and greatest like the ones you'll find in the latest smartphones, but in terms of DAPs, pretty much all the high-end DAPs right now are using the Snapdragon 665, and from my experience, it's more than powerful enough, competent enough to drive a DAP with ease. And on top of that, we've got 4 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of onboard storage. And in terms of power output, it's a little bit moderate. We're looking at 405 milliwatts from the balanced output. That is not huge. That's not very much, to be honest, but in the real sense, it's more than enough for most headphones out there. I will talk about that and pairing and what works with it and what doesn't later on. But let's have a look at the exterior and the build quality. I'll try not to get my fingerprints all over it too much. So this display on the front is a 5-inch display. It has a 720p resolution, which is a little bit lower. Like the HiBy here has 1080, but this one's 720. But, you know, in my experience, it's nice and crisp and clear. I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. So yeah, nice display on the front. And then we've got on the side here our playback controls. That's your power button. Then you've got your play button in the middle, your previous and next track. And on the top is our volume knob there. Lovely, with nice knurling on it. It's nice all aluminium. The chassis feels great. By the way, it's got a bit of heft to it, this thing. It's 250 grams. So you'll definitely feel it in your pocket, but I like it. It's reassuringly solid. On the left side here, we've got a micro SD slot. Now this supports cards up to 2 terabytes in size. That, if you don't know, is a heck of a lot of music. But you probably do know if you're watching this video. But anyway, yeah, 2 terabytes. On the bottom, have a look at this. So we've got a 4.4 millimeter balanced line out, 3.5mm single-ended line out, your USB Type-C port for charging and data transfer. And then we've got our headphone outs. We've got 3.5mm single-ended and a 4.4mm balanced. Now around on the back of the device, we've got this lovely, look at that, faceted sort of diamond-like design. It looks really, really nice. It's got a 3D effect. That's super cool. It is a super fingerprint magnet, so just the slightest touch will smear it up. By the way, that reminds me, in the box you get a USB charging cable and you get this silicone case as well. I prefer to use it with the case on, but obviously I've taken it off for the purposes of this video. I like these buttons on the side. They have a nice bit of resistance. They're not too easy to click by accident, and they have a nice tactile response as well. The volume knob it's fairly easy to move and turn up top, but when you've got that silicone case on, that movement becomes much more intentional and deliberate. So for that reason, I find this device in particular really good for when it's in your pocket, because we'll talk about that later. But that's the build. It feels great in the hand, beautiful. Let's open it up and have a look at the operating system. Now this is running on Android 12, and don't freak out, Android 12, it's a few years old, whatever, but you know, keep in mind, this is a music player, so you don't need the latest and greatest. It does have a nice responsive processor in it, that Snapdragon 665, so it all feels nice and responsive. When you first turn it on, it basically looks like this. So it has a very sort of digital audio player feel about it. It doesn't feel immediately like a smartphone when you first turn it on. I have added some extra apps, of course, as I want to do. Comes with the Google Play Store, and of course it comes with the HiBy music player. I'll open that up and say, I just quickly want to talk about the battery. So we've got a 4500 milliamp hour battery, and that will give you uninterrupted music playback for around 13 hours from the single-ended output and 11 hours from the balanced output. That is in Class AB mode. In Class A mode, you have to knock a couple of hours off those numbers. 11 hours, I think, single-ended, and 9 from the balanced output. And I forgot to mention, by the way, I'm going to forget probably a lot of things. So if I do forget to mention something that you want to know, just leave a comment down below, or leave a comment anyway, drop in to say hi. So we've got Bluetooth, of course, we've got Wi-Fi, and naturally it supports all your high-res Bluetooth codecs like aptX and LDAC, etc. Rightio, let's have a look inside the system now. So this is what the Android 12 experience looks like when it just comes out of the box. It looks pretty much like that. It actually feels more like a standalone music player than it does like more than a smartphone at first. But of course, you got Google Play Store. You can add apps if you want, but it's a nice clean operating system developed in-house by HiBy from Open Android. And it's nice and responsive, as you can see. But let's jump into the HiBy Music app, the heart of the music. Here we are on the Albums tab here. This is what it looks like. So nice clear display, nice colors, very responsive. As you navigate through the music menu, you can see the album art pops up nice and quickly. I've got quite a bit of music on there, and yeah, there's no real noticeable lag anywhere. You also get this alphabetical list on the side, so if you want to jump to a specific area, that's easy to do. You don't have to scroll endlessly through there. Let's have a look at the now playing screen. So if I choose an album, play a song, I can click down the bottom and you get to your now playing screen. You can customize this too. There are a few different view options, and also if the display goes off while you're playing a song and you turn it back on, the lock screen is the album art. That's really cool. So let's jump back out for a sec. I want to show you, we'll just pause that song. I want to show you the settings menu here. Well, not the settings, the sub menu. First item on the list is import music via Wi-Fi. This is a really cool feature. So if you are connected on your home network and you have a PC on the same network, you can import music from there, which is nice and handy. Obviously, the music scan, it's really quite fast actually. I've got, I think it's a 128 gigabyte SD card in here. I know it's not huge, but it's enough for my needs. And yeah, scanning the whole thing, which is almost full, takes like less than a minute, which is really good. You can customize the theme, like I said, different colors, and I'm not going to go into that right now. Equalizer, you got a nice equalizer there. And you also have a parametric equalizer. I know people love these things. Let's turn on the PEQ and reset it. So you can choose any frequency that you want, any random frequency. Let's go to 3 kilohertz or 3000 hertz, roughly, not quite. And then you get the gain, and you can move it up and down like this. Hang on, I'll move that, change that to peaking so you get a better idea. So up and down like that. And you can also change the width of that curve. So you can get really specific and really nail down exactly the kind of tuning that you want. And then we've got MSEB or Mage Sound 8-Ball. This is basically a digital sound processing software, and there's a whole lot of manipulations you can do within here. Like for example, overall temperature, you can make it cool or bright to warm and dark. Then you've got bass extension, bass texture, note thickness, voice, forward vocals or recessed vocals. You can really tweak the heck out of the sound, which makes this device super, super versatile. But now, I think it's time we talk about the sound quality. And look, so we've got that quad Cirrus Logic DAC array. If you're familiar with the CS DACs, then you probably have some inkling of what to expect. Of course, that's not the only thing that determines the sound quality. You've also got your amplification circuit, the internal hardware, etc. But in general, I would say the R6 Mark III 2025 edition adheres pretty much to that Cirrus Logic house sound that we are used to, which is nice end-to-end extension, full-bodied bass, a nice, possibly slightly softened treble, but a very airy high end. Excellent overall resolution, great instrument separation, and that instrument separation, which ties into the imaging as well, is really enhanced by an extremely black background. Check out, if you want to see the numbers, check out once again my written review. But yeah, the signal to noise ratio, the total harmonic distortion is ridiculously low, excellent dynamic range, etc. So really black background. In terms of background noise, even with very sensitive in-ear monitors, I hear just nothing at all except the music, which is exactly what you want. Now, it doesn't have the widest soundstage, but if you want a wider soundstage, you can effectively achieve that with the MSEB. So you go down to the bottom here, you can adjust the air from soft to crisp. You can, lower the temperature a little bit, things like that. And you can really, like I said, manipulate the sound in so many ways. So it sounds amazing. What really sets this apart, and HiBy DAPs in general apart, is its flexibility due to that MSEB, the parametric EQ. So the core sound quality, audio quality is fantastic, but then you can go in and tweak every little thing that you can possibly imagine. So a quick word about the power output and pairing. Look, it's not the most powerful DAP. 405 milliwatts from the balance out is not a whole lot. It is enough for most headphones, things like your Sennheiser HD6XX, etc. It is good enough for your FiiO FT1 Pro, no problem at all. It's a very efficient headphone. And of course, it is good enough, it's powerful enough for basically any IEM that you could possibly imagine. But now let's do a quick comparison, and here I've got the iBasso Audio DX180. So the DX180 is $529. The HiBy R6 III is $429. So it's $90 less than the iBasso. What are the differences? First of all, this display on the iBasso is 1080p. So it's a little bit crisper than the 720p on the HiBy. In addition to that, the maximum brightness is better on the iBasso. Okay, just to show you the difference in the displays here, I've opened up the same album on UAPP player, so you can see the iBasso display. Yeah, it's a bit brighter, the colors are a bit more vibrant, but apart from that, internally the iBasso has quad Cirrus Logic CS43198 DAC chips, the HiBy CS43198. Now technically the HiBy DACs, the CS43198, is superior. That is because the 43131 has inbuilt amplification, whereas this one is basically just a DAC and it passes the audio, the information to external op amps. So technically you can get better audio performance from the DACs in the HiBy here, but you know, of course it depends on those op amps. I'm not big up on them, so I can't say for sure, but what I hear in terms of audio performance, I think the iBasso sounds just slightly more refined. The soundstage is a bit more expansive, and the sound in general, the presentation is just a bit more spacious, but they are very close. And of course, you know, going back to that MSEB again, you can get them sounding very, very similar. So yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but this also has a removable back panel, so it's easier to replace the battery in the future if you need to. But you know, is that worth almost $100 more? Well, that's up to you. One other thing, the iBasso's got super sharp corners, which is a real bummer if you don't have the case on, whereas the HiBy is nicely rounded and crafted. Now I just realized I forgot to show you some of the system menu. So pull down just like a phone and you get some options there. Pull it down again, you'll get some more options. So internet, Bluetooth, auto rotate, which is great to have. Like if you're using this with your PC and you want to use it as an external DAC, the USB Type-C port is on the bottom. You can flip it upside down, rotate the screen, it's all good. And you can quickly switch between your Class AB and Class A modes and the gain modes there, and of course your pretty typical Android type settings in there. That about wraps it up, guys. Look, the HiBy R6 Mark III 2025 version, I think this is an absolute killer of a DAP. It is fantastic. I even in some cases prefer it to the DX180. Like for example, when it's in my pocket, if I am out and about, when the case is on, the silicone case, manipulating the volume wheel is a much more deliberate and intentional process. So I really like that, because I found myself always accidentally either adjusting the volume, pushing the button and turning the display on, which you don't want when it's in your pocket, or pressing these buttons, which have much less resistance on the iBasso. So for mobility, I really like the R6 III. I don't use, like I said, the MSEB or the parametric EQ. This has a PEQ also, so that doesn't matter. In terms of audio quality, look, honestly, I don't know if I could tell them apart in a blind test. They both use Cirrus Logic DACs, and they do sound very, very similar. But at the end of the day, the R6 III here is just an excellent DAP. It is fantastic value, and obviously I highly recommend it. Having said that, it's time to wrap it up. It's been a long video. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Pa Family Audiophile Style. Even new here, hit that subscribe button before you go. And until next time, I'll see you later.